The year is 1998 and the US President Bill Clinton has just been impeached. And that little company that we all know now as Google has just been founded. I was but a fetus in my mother's stomach, but if you had £160,000 and you wanted something luxurious, stylish and guaranteed to lose you a ton of money, then you could go into a Bentley dealership and buy one of these, a Bentley Arnage green label. So in the spring of that year, this was unveiled, the Bentley Arnage, which was the first entirely new design for the marque since 1980. This also was launched alongside its sister, if you like, the Rolls-Royce Silver Seraph. Let me know the last time you saw one of them on the road. And for that first model year of 1998, this was offered exclusively with the BMW M62 4.4 litre V8. And if you're a channel viewer or an L322 lover like me, you'll know that that is the exact same engine that I have in my £2,000 Range Rover. Nonetheless, the list prices on these started at about £135,000 plus options. Most of these were spec'd up to in excess of 160 grand. And that is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, even by today's standards. But back in 1998, when you adjust that for inflation, it's well in excess of £250,000. And bear in mind, at the time, the average house price in the UK was only just a smidge over £100,000, making this an absolute expression of opulence, excess, and if you saw someone driving down the road in one of these, you knew that they must have been someone pretty special. So what am I then, a baby-faced, tramp-dressed, child-looking scrote doing standing next to one of these? Well, I'm standing next to one of these, and the reason it's on the channel, because you can now buy these for just under £15,000. In fact, this particularly nice example, with a very interesting interior, which I'll show you shortly, on just over 70,000 miles, is advertised for sale here at Heel & Toe Cars for just under £14,000. Can you believe it? If we do the maths on that in terms of its original list price, which isn't adjusted for inflation, of over 150 grand, it's lost, well, it's worth less than 10% of its original value. That is mental. So it's thanks to our best friend on this channel, Depreciation, that I can be now leaning on a car that was once owned by the Princess Anne, Tom Ford, even Jennifer Lopez had one of these back in the day. This is but a number of cars like this that have depreciated massively over the last 20 to 30 years, which means mere mortals like you and I can pick them up relatively cheaply. But is that something you really want to do? Is this in fact just an apple in the Garden of Eden that looks absolutely scrumptious from the outside, but opens you up to a world of trouble when you bite into it? Well, let's find out. So let me quickly tell you about today's video sponsor, Wolfbox. Now this is an interesting one for me because I've been putting off having a dash cam, well, ever since they've been released. I don't know why, it's probably just something to do with the way they look, the way they take up space on the windscreen, and the fact that everyone who has a dash cam appears to be a terrible driver. Maniac. However, recently Wolfbox got in touch and offered to send me their G900 Pro, which I thought looked quite interesting. See, this is no ordinary dash cam. This essentially is a new rear view mirror that integrates a front and rear facing dash cam. Now, I thought installation was going to be quite difficult, but I literally had it set up within about 30 seconds. You strap it onto your existing rear view mirror and you can plug it directly into your car through the 12-volt socket or in other ways too. It then connects a rear facing camera, which you can either stick onto the back of your windscreen, which I've just done for now, or you can wire it through properly. There's also a GPS receiver which you can put on your dash, which will give you things like speed and direction on your rear view mirror as well. But as you can see, you get this fantastic display either as a split screen where you can see the rear and the front facing camera, or you can change between just having the rear view camera, but you essentially now have an electronic rear view mirror. It comes with an SD card, so straight away you can easily start recording incidents or capture anything that might happen on the road that you want to save. And like I say, there's some lovely features like this speedo and compass. So listen, if you want to go and get one of these for yourself, there is a Black Friday deal on at the moment. I'll leave a link in the description to a code that will get you some discount and to the website where this product can be purchased. Maybe now I am indeed a dash cam convert, because I do just like the way that this seamlessly integrates into the car. Thank you, Wolfbox, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Well, how exciting is this? This is actually my first time ever driving a Bentley, if you can believe it. I can't quite believe it, but it's just, wow, what a majestic thing to sit inside. First of all, I don't think I've ever been in a car where I have so little idea of what the buttons do. They firstly all seem to be in very odd and random places, like the seat controls are sort of backwards and down here. There's 4 memory functions for each seat. I've never seen a car with 4 memory settings before. And then the next thing I noticed when I was looking at the buttons, and this is not necessarily a good thing, is that of course it's BMW era, so these are straight out of a E39 5 Series, as of course is the big V8 lump up front. But my goodness me, what a thing to be piloting down the road. In fact, I think the motoring journalist that first said a car felt more like piloting a boat than driving a car must have said it when they were driving a Bentley Arnage, because that is exactly what this thing is like. The bonnet is endless. You have the impression of being quite high up as well. It feels almost like an SUV in terms of seating position, although it is actually much lower. I absolutely love the dials in front of me. I love the way that the rev counter goes up in 5s. You have 15, 20, 25, etc. I also, it's not something you're going to consider when you're buying one of these, but I love the way this doesn't have a trip computer. I like to reset it every time I do a review just to get an idea of your MPG, but yeah, cycling through here you literally just can see your miles and your trip miles. That's it. There's no indication of how much fuel you're using other than the very empty needle over here on the gauge. And yes, these 5 gauges here, you've got your battery voltage, your oil pressure, your water temperature, and of course the Bentley clock along with your fuel tank. I just love that. So of its time and just so opulent in feel. All this wood as well is just gorgeous to the touch, as is the leather headlining. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen such a gorgeous roof in a car. And then of course the spec of this car, I mean, what a spec. Do you know what, I don't actually know exactly what they call this colour, but it's like an orange, almost, yeah, it's an orange. I'd say it's a caramel, a reddish caramel, and it carries all the way along the dash. Obviously the 2-tone seats, caramel and cream, same with the wheel. It is quite a thing, and I think if you're going to have a car like this, well, why not have it in such an outrageous spec? Initial driving impressions though, I suppose you won't be surprised to hear this, it does feel an awful heavy car. Of course it's because it is, it's 2.7 tons this car, and it does feel every bit as heavy as that. I would say new cars these days are incredibly impressive at disguising their weight, but yeah, this is of an era certainly, and it doesn't really do that. It does feel quite heavy, and I would say almost a little bit underpowered. Now, if you did hang on to your 160 grand for just another year, in 99 they brought out the Arnage Red Label, which then introduced the 6.75 litre W12 engine, which saw the model out, and maybe that was more suited to this car. It's too early to say, and of course I've not driven one of those, but we can have a little look at what it does in terms of if we put our foot down, because we've just been sort of teasing the throttle so far. There is amazingly a sport button here on top of the gear stick, which is very, very keen to be activated. I'll just put my foot down, I'll do a kick down from 30 to 60 and we'll see what happens. Okay, here we go, foot down now. My goodness, it makes an almighty roar, that V8, once you give it the beans. Yeah, look, it's not fast at all. In fact, it still felt quite slow even when flooring it like that. But gosh, I mean, it's not a car that you want to drive fast this. It is incredibly comfortable. Like I say, such a great view out the front, and your rear passengers as well, if you're carrying them, would be having a lovely time, because just the leather and everything you touch in this car is gorgeous, is the only word. One thing I'm discovering here as we turn around is this thing does have a turning circle of average sized country. It really is a big old thing. But listen, it may be big, but there's ample legroom in the back as well as a massive boot. Sometimes with these executive cars you find it's all optimised for legroom and there's no boot space. Well, this has both. There's so many quirks to discover with this car as well. I do find it tremendously interesting. For example, the indicator, doesn't matter if you indicate left or right, the blipper in the middle of the screen to tell you that the indicator's on is in the same place, so you don't know if your indicator's on left or right without physically checking. You have this rotary piece of wood here which reveals the Pioneer stereo, which I don't know if that would have been original, probably not, but yeah, you can tuck it away and it certainly looks better with this wood cover. Then everywhere you look, there's these silver sort of pull toggles. I believe up here they control whether your air vent is on or off. Well, it's not on or off. You can choose exactly how much air you want to come through the vents. Down here there's 2 more as well, although I think they're just cosmetic because they no, that's the wing mirror control. Now I see. So I couldn't work out how on earth to adjust the wing mirrors, but it's with these little toggles. They're also lovely to touch. Then in here you've got your Alpine stereo, your CD changer, and oh, looks like a couple of cup holders we've just found by accident too. They tuck away nicely. Now in 1998, what would you have been listening to on your Alpine stereo? What would you be going down to buy a CD of? Or my 90s or late 90s music knowledge really isn't up to scratch. Comment below, what was #1 in April of 1998 when this car was released? So yeah, it's extremely comfortable, and as expected, the ride quality is superb. I'm a little bit surprised about the general level of noise in here. It's noisier than I would have expected. I thought the sound deadening and whatnot might mask that sort of wind and tyre noise that I can hear quite a lot of actually. It's a bit noisier than I would have expected. And often in these reviews, when I review 20, 25, 30-year-old cars, you'll hear me saying something along the lines of, gosh, you just can't believe how old this car is because it's so refined. But it's not the case with this Arnage. It definitely feels almost 30 years old, which it is, 27 years old now. It's, do you know what, reminds me, it's very similar in feel to the same era and age of Aston Martin DB7, which, funnily enough, I drove last time I was at Heel and Toe Cars. That feels every bit as old as it is, and it's the same with this Arnage. The steering's a bit heavier, like I say, it's not quite as refined in terms of noise levels, and everything's just a little bit creaky and old, which it is. I think as we got into the noughties, cars got just far more refined very quickly, and funny enough, I'm about to pull back into Heel and Toe Cars and take out a 2004 Bentley Continental GT. So if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on driving that straight after this, then subscribe to the channel and you'll see that video very soon. So I would expect the Continental GT is going to feel far more refined than this. But yeah, I mean, what a thing, and we should really talk about it. The headline thing with this car really is the price, and it was the headline when it first came out because it was so incredibly expensive, and now you could argue it's so incredibly cheap for what it is. You're certainly getting a lot of car for your money, and by that I mean quite literally. You're getting over 5 meters worth of Bentley. I certainly feel, I suppose, untouchable and really quite special driving this thing. It's not something I'd want to use every day, but of an occasion, wow, I mean, what a thing to take out. You know, in that film Borat, when he says, "I'm king of the castle, I'm king of the castle." Sorry for the awful impression, but that's how I feel. I feel like I'm king of the castle driving this thing. Now, of course, this is the BMW V8, and like I say, they did come out later with the W12. I've not heard all that many horror stories from these Bentleys. Things like tyres and brakes, a little bit more expensive because they're big, but also it's such a heavy car. So you're going to go through the consumable suspension components, all the rest of it, probably quicker than your average car. But in terms of the mechanical side of things, well, this gearbox and engine is a known quantity. There are things that go wrong with these particular engines, like the timing guides on these V8s, I believe. I think actually my Range Rover literally needs that job done. They're quite known quantities, and of course it's a BMW unit. So in this particular car with the V8, you can sort of, there's plenty of research and parts and things available. I did have a little look under the bonnet earlier, and I saw the plastic, fantastic expansion tank, which looks very BMW, and God, I've probably gone through 10 of those with the cars I've owned over the years. So it'll be all of those little bits and bobs, but as a whole, you know, I've not heard too many horror stories with these. So maintenance wise, yeah, you know, it's going to cost more to run than the Prius, but look at it. I mean, surely it's worth spending that premium to keep it going. Of course, fuel is the other one. Yeah, I mean, you know, this thing absolutely gulps fuel. Probably uses more fuel than an Airbus A320neo. It really is a thirsty old beast. But I can't remember who described it in this way, but it's so true. It's like buying a first class ticket, this car. Yes, there's cheaper ways to get you and your family from A to B, but there's certainly more comfortable and more expensive ways to do it as well. And this is one of them, and yeah, my goodness me, I would not mind either driving or being driven around in this thing. It really is, yeah, magnificent. So we're back on the bumpy airfield tarmac, which means we must be back at Heel & Toe Cars. So I'm going to drop this off, and as I mentioned, then go and drive a Continental GT, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, huge thank you to Heel & Toe Cars for throwing me the keys to this car. It has been a wonderful, wonderful and eye-opening experience. This, by the time I put the video out, may or may not still be for sale. The best way to find out is go over to their Instagram page, Heel & Toe Cars, and you can see all their cars for sale. As I mentioned, this one up for £13,750 at the time of recording. Wow, I mean, unbelievable value for money. Also, Billy at Heel & Toe Cars asked me to mention that they are hosting a Christmas event this year. I believe it's either on the 27th or 28th of December. Again, check their Instagram account for details. But they're basically hosting a car meet. Come along, bring your car, have a look at their incredible inventory, their incredible stock. They've got 4 barns now full of wonderful, wonderful stuff like this, and eat a bacon sandwich. Sounds fantastic to me. Yeah, huge thank you guys, Heel & Toe, for lending me this. Thank you all for watching. Do comment below 1998 number 1. I want to know what that is. Gosh, I bet I can't think of it. And also comment, would you have one of these? Would you buy one? I think that if you've always wanted one, now is the time to do it. And yeah, like I say, what a thing to be driving around in for well under 15 grand. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.